What up, everybody? It's your boy Justin back with another video. You know it, guys. Anyways, guys, today's gonna be another Goosebumps book review. I'm doing 4 of these, and I'm gonna do another one video after this, after the app video. And this review is gonna be on Night in Terror Tower. Again, my books are old as heck, and I got this one at a fair, at like a yard sale fair thingy, and it was in this condition when I got it. Like, it was the best one I could get at. I could find it at. I mean, like, yeah, so, but I still read it nonetheless. Actually, when I had first got it, there was this part, like, the front part was barely hanging on. Like, it was barely hanging on, though. Anyways, guys, this one's going to be about A Night in Terror Tower. Not going to lie, I probably read this one 22 times. Like, 22. And watched the episode like 30 times. By the way, that's one of the most well-done episodes. Like, if you watch an episode, you don't even know you're watching an episode. You might be like, am I watching a mini-movie? That's what it's like. It's like that's how good that episode's made. Anyways, I love this. This was a good one. Basically what it's about is Eddie and his sister Sue are busy in London with their parents, or they're on a business trip, and their parents gave them a chance to go on tours and all this. So at the end of the day, when they've been to every single museum they could have gone to, it's up to Eddie and Sue to choose which one they want to go. It's either they go one more museum, or they can go to a tower, to the Tower of London, or to the torture tower, and Terror Tower is what they call it. But really, it's supposed to be the Tower of London. Okay. And then basically, they chose to go to the tower. When they get from the tower, Eddie sees a guy screaming from the balcony, turn back, all is lost, and disappears. And then when they get there, they're just like, they're talking about certain things, like, talking about the story about the prince and princess who were taken there and were killed and never seen again and shit. And then their scene would be, then they're like, they're talking about all the punishments the people had to go through from, like, the rack, which is my ultimate favorite torture instrument, by the way. If you don't know what it is, I'll give you a brief background on what it does. So what you would do if you were a criminal or something, or you were being interrogated, the rack was the best interrogation tool back then. What they would do was it's a wooden plank board. It's like the side that could fit a human on it, and there's ropes for arms and legs, and they put your ropes, your hands, your arms and legs in the ropes, usually around your wrists and your ankles, and they'll ask you a question. Now, if you don't answer them, you don't give them an answer that's satisfactory, or if you're just plain, I don't know, just rude or something like that. I don't really never understood it. Mostly it's if you don't give an answer, or the answer is not satisfactory. They crank a wheel, and the ropes pull your arms and legs. And it's supposed to make it severely hurtful. Actually, there's the Guy Fawkes, a guy in the 1600s who got tortured. They compared his handwriting from when he was before Iraq and after. Like, it's fine before, but after, you could barely tell it's his handwriting. Like, literally, you could barely make out Guy. You can barely make out Guy Fawkes. You can make out Fox, but barely Guy. That's how bad his handwriting was after that. It really screwed up your body. Anyways, back to the story. So, they're visiting this tower, and, they're bickering, this Eddie and Sue, to the point where they don't realize that their tour group has moved on, and they get lost. They literally get lost in the tower. And they end up being chased by a guy in a black suit who's trying to capture them. And they end up going back to this guy. They end up going into this, like, sewer, and they end up getting out of the sewer. And they by a crate, by a ladder that takes them up to outside into the parking lot of the tower, and they hail a cab, and they go back to their apartment, okay, or their hotel. Sorry, not apartment. And when they go to pay the cab driver, their money is no good. it's like play money, which is really a dick move. You ask me. If their parents give them money, and it's like it's play money. So they tell the cab driver, "Can we pay? We'll go inside. We'll get our parents, and they will pay you." He said, "That's fine, but you better come out in like 10 minutes or else." So they go in, and they can't remember their room number or their last name. So they go to the front desk and they tell about their convention and shit, and they're not able to be found. They're not even the rooms they are requesting are vacant, and no one's staying in them actually. So then they go try to hide from the cab driver. They go into the dining area in the hotel, and from there they end up trying when the cab driver spots them. They go into the kitchen where the guy in the black suit and shit catches them and Eddie and says to him, "Give them back." And he says, "If you give them back, would you let us go?" And he said, "Yes, I will." And then he gives him the stones, these four magical white stones and then all of a sudden he starts saying, he grabs Eddie's arm after he takes them, and he starts saying these weird magical words, and all of a sudden they end up just going into a place they don't remember they were. And then they realize Sue gets lost from her brother, Eddie, and Sue figures out that they got transported into the Middle Ages, so like the 1300s, 1500s, stuff like that, Dark Ages. And she pays a peasant woman to hide her with, and now the money that they were given by her parents is actually real fucking gold, like it's gold. And it's like worth some shit. And he's like, "Okay, well, she's like, that's weird." So she takes the gold and hides them. And then when the guards come with the guy, the dude, says, "Oh, she's right there. I caught him for you, mister." And she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, I remember reading that book when I was like 12 or 13. And I'm like, you double-crossing bitch. And then I'm like, she apologizes to the lady in the episode, I think, not in the book. "I can't go against a high executioner." I'm like, "Bitch, yes you can. Just don't do it. Who cares?" And then they end up getting taken into to the tower. She is reunited with her brother Eddie, and they don't know why they're there at all. And then they get told by a wizard that that he is their guardian technically. That their parents had put him in charge to look after them in the case that they died, and their uncle is trying to take over the kingdom and become king. When they themselves, and this might probably one of the greatest mind efforts in the end of all books, I would believe, in this book, because this entire time you're led to believe that Eddie and Sue are just Eddie and Sue. No, they are not just Eddie and Sue. They are, let me say it with me, the queen, the princess, and the prince from the effing story that they were being told in the tower. They're actually there. What happened was Mordred, which is the guy's name, used the white stones of the executioner. Those are his stones. He sent them forward in time to escape the executioner from death, okay? From dying, or from them being executed. And gave him with false memories and everything like that, and that's what happened. But he ended up getting the stones from him, and then shit happens, Anyways, immediately, like, the funniest way they did it in the episode was, like, once they're in their regular clothes and are talking, like, American English, and then right after he says, "You're not Eddie and Sue, you're Edward and Susanna, Prince and Princess of York." And then the camera goes back to them, and they're in, like, Middle Ages clothing, and they're talking, like, Old English, and I love that scene, oh my god. Anyways, then the executioner is brought to them, and it's like, "Okay, time to die, guys." And they're led to believe, and Edward's like, "No, I don't want to die. Please spare me, please." And it's all an act. And Edward's and Susan's like, "Be brave, Edward, be brave." But it's all an act. And then he swipes the stones, tosses them to Mordred, and he recites the spell again and sends them forward in time. and they wake up on the floor with their tour guide saying, "Where have you been? We've been looking all over for you. It's about to close. You don't want me locked up in here." And then Mordred comes over in a new guise and says, "I'm their guardian. I'm sorry. I'll take responsibility for what happened recently." Like, he's like, "Okay." Then they says, "We never have to hear the story. What happened to the prince and princess?" Curious thing though, when the executioner came to see them, for their time for execution, they were gone. They just disappeared. No one knows what happens to this day. So they changed the history of the story, and that's one of my favorites. And then the ending is, I believe, here, I'm going back to the ending page real quick. Okay, it's not really a good ending to this one. It's just that they scream they're hungry. But in the end of this episode, the Morgan looks into his pocket and only finds 3 stones, and thinks Eddie's up to his old tricks. And turns out Eddie is not up to his old tricks. What's really going on is that the guy, it shows after they get back on the bus, the camera pans out to show the executioner with 1 white stone left. That's how Nine Terror Tower ends in this book. It just ends with them being hungry and they end up going for hamburgers and fries, which is kind of weird, but whatever. If you ask me, for me, after that entire occasion, I would walk into London and be like, I am the long lost Prince of York. You will give me the feast I deserved, and nothing will be satisfactory until I get my feast. You know, I'd be a jackass about it, but whatever. I would just be me. Anyways, great book. Overall, great story. I have read the Choose Your Own Adventure book. One of my favorite books. I will be doing. I haven't read it. I don't own the Choose Your Own Adventure book exactly. I borrowed it from a friend for a little bit, and he let me read it. And I'll give you a full synopsis of what I got as my story, and probably one of the greatest endings I've ever seen in this book was the ending I got. And that's it for this video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, stay cool. For this overall rating for this book would be a 9 out of scare factor, 10 and overall Goosebumps nostalgia. That's it for this video, guys. See you later.